she's always telling me I gotta be free. I'm never gonna put any chains on me. Oh, she's the kind of lover that you just don't leave. Yeah, if I wanna keep her, I gotta treat her right. Yeah, to come for liberty, you know you better get up and fight. Oh, the enemies of liberty, you're always drawing near. Yeah, defend liberty before she disappears. Well, I got a lover named Liberty. Oh, we fit together so naturally. Yeah, gift from God given to me. Oh, she is the one divine beauty. Yeah, if I wanna keep her, I better treat her right. Oh, they come with liberty, you know you better get up and fight. Yeah, the enemies of liberty are always drawing near. Yeah, defend liberty before she disappears. Well, I got a lover named Liberty. Oh, before I was born, she was loving on me. Yeah, always teaching humanity. Without liberty, it's all slavery. Yeah, if I wanna keep her, I better treat her right. Yeah, they come with liberty, you know you better get up and fight. Yeah, the enemies of liberty are always drawing near. Yeah, defend liberty before she disappears. Yeah, if I wanna keep her, I better treat her right. Yeah, they come with liberty, you know you better get up and fight. Yeah, the enemies of liberty are always drawing near. Yeah, defend liberty before she disappears. Oh, protect liberty before she disappears. Yeah, defend liberty before she
Welcome everyone, ladies and gentlemen, brothers and sisters. It's been a minute since I did a live show, and I am stoked. I'm back on StreamYard, so getting kind of used to all the new updates, and this is always fun. I love the tech live streaming stuff, so thank you all for joining me, and just give me a quick comment from someone if my audio is coming through loud and clear. I would appreciate it. Today I got a really big announcement I'm excited for. Probably actually a few announcements since I haven't done a live stream in a while. There's one that I have not been public about, and this is going to be fantastic, and I'm thoroughly looking forward to it. And some project updates. All that stuff's going to be real quick because I want to dive into some really cool topics. Obviously, there's a lot of stuff going on in the world. No surprise to that. And when these events happen, you won't see me that much. What I do is I take a step back, I observe everything, then process gather the grammar, process, and then think about stuff, and then I can kind of speak on certain topics. So, like always, I dive into the philosophical, the metaphysical, the causal level of events that are playing out in the world, right? So we're going to talk about transcendent function, which is a Carl Jung term. It's many people probably have heard of it, but not in that verbiage or that context. So we're going to dive deep in that, unpack that, what does that mean, and also talk about the crowd psychology as well. I've seen a lot of people kind of reference this book, The Crowd. Gustave Le Bon, a French author, activist, philosopher from the 19th century. I think this book came out in the 1830s or 40s. He's considered one of the grandfathers of just group think, collectivism, group psychology. So we're going to touch on that a little bit, primarily focusing on the transcendent function. And of course, I want some interaction from the chat, and we'll go from there, right? So, audio is coming in clear. Thank you. Appreciate that, brother. Fred, good to see you. Jerry, good to see you. Got all my platforms going. We're on Instagram as well. Let me check that. Okay, excellent. That's going live. Welcome, welcome. All right, well, let's dive into the big announcement. I kind of want to do the housekeeping stuff. I don't typically like to do that kind of stuff. It takes away from kind of the heart of the matter. But this announcement is extremely exciting for me. And I think even for what you would call the natural law community as well, because it's a very small niche of people that kind of talk about objective morality and natural law. And of course, we need to raise that. We need numbers. This is obviously a quantifiable. Not only is it qualitative, meaning it's what you talk about and the education and the information that you express out into the world, it's quantifiable as well, meaning numbers matter. So I was offered, let me see if I can get the image up real quick. I was contacted by Derek Bros from the Conscious Resistance, a man I respect and, a vet in this battle for many, many years. And he offered me to be a presenter at the upcoming event, the People's Reset in Central Mexico. So that's pretty awesome. I can't remember what number event this is. It's like 3, 4, or 5. I know they've been doing it for a while. Originally, it was the Greater Reset and then changed to the People's Reset. So this is fantastic. I'll be there speaking on natural law. This is a week-long event, and obviously themes are agorism and parallel networks. So that's fantastic. That's going to be a huge public speaking engagement for me. I have done a small handful of public speaking engagements live in person. I love doing it. I want to do more of that. So it really gets me in my natural environment, face-to-face, eye-to-eye with people on a stage, large numbers. I do well under those circumstances, and I'm really looking forward to doing what I do, simplify the profound. When you say natural law, most people obviously think of Mark Passio and how the information that he has brought forward, and hands down, top dog, 100%. There are many other natural law teachers that can throw their own style in there on how they convey it, right? This isn't our information. It's conveying the truth, and that can be done in an unlimited amount of ways. So this will be my attempt to break down natural law for kind of that realm of people. These are people that are very freedom-minded, that want to take action and take action into their own daily lives, which I think probably over the last few months I have swayed it into a kind of a homeostasis, right? Because the fact of the matter, and I've seen a huge imbalance on this topic, it isn't 100% making content online. It can't be. It can't be because you are actually living in the world, right? So we have kids, we have family, we have our 9 to 5s, or how we generate resources so we can eat and we can live. Therefore, it's not only mental, it's also physical. This is all encompassing the spiritual domain, right? Both the unseen and the seen. So we are not only speaking content, creating content, trying to educate the public, we are ourselves are living in the world. Now, what is the balance? The balance itself is moving on all fronts and all angles to practice what you preach, right? I'm very much into maybe, getting a plot of land, creating some kind of sustainability. I'm very much into that. And I think a lot of people need to be thinking that way, especially the direction the world is going. So I'm going to tie both of those sides in, bring it in, and unwrap what natural law really is. So it's easily to be digestible for the left or the right brain dominant person, right? We want to bring these people to the middle path. And that's my goal. So I'm excited. Let me pull up not that website, that one right there, the People's Reset. The actual website is thegreaterreset.org. Again, this is hosted by Derek Brose of the Conscious Resistance. Fantastic event. The activation is back January 28th through February 1st, 2026. Focused on practical solutions for the problems we face as a collective. Solutions you can implement now to create more free and conscious communities. That is excellent. And I want to play this video for you guys. I got my eye on the chat. Let me know. The audio should be coming through. All right. Morelia, Mexico, Central Mexico. Who's coming with me? Let's do it. Meet me there. No audio on my end. Okay, well, I got that late, but I appreciate that. I appreciate that, man. Thank you so much. For some reason, I checked the audio on it. Anyways, regardless, go to thegreaterreset.org. Check that video out. Let's go through some of the speakers they have on here. There's multiple languages as well. Alex Zeck, Carrie Wedler, Catherine Austin Fitz, Dana Sterlin, John Bush, Derek Brose, Katrina. A lot of people I recognize, a lot of people I am not familiar with that I'm looking forward to becoming familiar with. Tom Oliver, Lewis, Jen and Sean Hopkins, Lainey Liberty I'm very familiar with, love her work. Miriam. Also performers, so there's going to be a huge music element to it and art as well. There's also workshops. This is a family-friendly event, so there are things for kids going on. So it is, it's holistic as well. Dub FX Presence is going to be there, of course. 33. So this is going to be fantastic, and I'm looking forward to it. I'm looking forward to collaborating and networking with a lot of other people and figure out ways to amplify the message of natural law on many fronts. So I'm stoked. I've had some donations come in recently without even me announcing this, and the people that have donated, I appreciate you very much from the bottom of my heart. On my website, I'm showing all donations are going to upgrading my tech, and I'm getting close to that, and that is fantastic. So I appreciate everything that comes in, any dollar amount. So thank you all that have been donating recently and throughout my whole presence publicly. So that is fantastic. So again, go to the greaterreset.org. Check out that website, see if that's something you're interested in. They have a plan your whole trip section. And, go check it out. Check it out. Next announcement. Where is my... Many people have seen this already. This has been public, but of course we have the Funnel 5 conference coming up February 21st and 22nd of 2026. And again, the theme is Ignite Hearts and Minds. This will be the event that will spark truth, love, and freedom. So a very fire element with the theme of this conference. To inflame is to inspire. To ignite is to start. It is the initiation of activation, of doing something. So again, a common theme in all of the funnel conferences, it's all about inspiring the viewers to take action within their own life and spread that message of truth, love, and freedom. freedomundernaturallaw.com. Go check that out. Save the date. And we have some fantastic presenters and artists and musicians that are going to be a part of that. And we are thrilled to be hosting another funnel conference, Funnel 5. So that is amazing. And then, since I haven't streamed in a while. I've been busy, but a lot of these announcements might be new for people. Of course, I was honored to write the foreword to my good friend Chris Janston's new book that came out recently, the book that changed my life. I was able to read this book a while ago, actually, and Chris did a fantastic job at putting together a wonderful piece of philosophical, grounded just knowledge. When I read this book, I was just smiling all the way through because it's like, dude, Chris, this is you, man, all the way through. And after reading that, of course, the foreword came to mind of a interview that Chris and I did, a collaboration called The Renaissance Man. And I wrote the foreword with that in mind. So I highly recommend people support Chris. And he's doing an incredible deal. I mean, this is how you support content creators, right? It all takes money and resources to do this kind of shit. So Chris put blood, sweat, and tears in this and wrote his own book and also has hard copies of The End of All Evil. So he's doing a promo deal where you get both of these for a special price. Go to his website, endevil.life. Go to the book, the shop section, check it out, support it, read my foreword, and enjoy that book. Chris has fantastic principles, and it's a great contemporary for the epic book of The End of All Evil. So those two books go hand in hand. Chris, you did a great job. Again, the book that changed my life by Chris Jansen. Awesome. All right. Fiction. Oh, got it. Appreciate everybody in here. Now, let me see. I've had a bunch of interviews lately. Highly recommend people check that out. Matt Presti. That was a fantastic interview. I'll have all the links in the description as well. So shout out to Matt. Tyler Boyler went on his new podcast, Merkaba, and that was excellent. We had a really good interview. And I also did another special feature on the private STE Academy conference. This is heavily for my Australian folks. There was a really good turnout. That was the 5th presentation that I did with that group, and I was the first presenter for that 9-week event, and it was fantastic. I did source code distilling and breaking down the Hermetic Principles. It was called Source Code, the Hermetic Principles Revealed. I will do that publicly. It will be an extended version as well. That will be coming up in probably a few weeks. I will announce a date soon. But that had a really good reaction, and a lot of people were feeling that. And again, taking these concepts of Hermeticism and breaking them down to practicality. What does that mean for the modern person? How can we use these to our own development of consciousness and strive to towards freedom, right? In our own lives, and obviously collectively as a species, as a global family. So that's going to be a really good presentation. Now, how to become the True Media. Enrollment starts October 1st. People go check that out. That is always a fantastic event. I highly recommend, if anybody is even thinking about it, just do it. Just commit to that. It's such a drop in the bucket as far as financially. I mean, that whole course is worth several thousands of dollars, the amount of money and knowledge that Mark puts in there. Not to mention, you're connecting with Mark. You're connecting with other students that are like-minded, that are beginning the journey. You're connecting with One Great Work Network content creators that have been doing this journey already for years, that still come and attend the tech seminar to sharpen the skill sets, to learn from other students. Like myself, being a moderator, I've been there every year. I constantly learn new stuff. I love the engagement with the students and, of course, with Mark. You're talking, each class is 7 hours long. 3 official hours from Mark teaching the curriculum of that class. The hour pre-class where Mark takes questions. The after class, which is another hour of questions from Mark as well. And then it's opened up for another 2 to 3 hours, sometimes even longer, of just community chat. Mark is not there, but all the students can collaborate and can communicate, and that's really fun too. So it's really good opportunity, and multiple students take it, multiple times. There's just so much there. The key is obvious. It always is action. It always is activation, and that's exactly what the category we are going to talk about today with transcendent function. So we're about to get into that. First, let me play this little How to Become the True Media promo that I made for the seminar, and I'm going to take a wiki leak real quick, and then we're going to get into our big topic, which I'm really looking forward to. Calling all potential content creators. Do you want to teach natural law and objective morality to assist in the great work of ending human slavery? Mark Passio from WhatOnEarthIsHappening.com is inviting you to join How to Become the True Media, an intensive 23-week online technology skill-sharing seminar. This year, How to Become the True Media is moving to the first half of the year, January through June. Classes will be held every Monday night from 8 to 11 p.m. Eastern U.S. time. Join the seminar and gain the skills to morally educate the masses of humanity. Enrollment opens October 1st and closes on New Year's Day. To enroll, visit howtobecomethetruemedia.com. Answer the call and start doing the great work today. There we go, folks. How to become the true media.com. Enrollment opens up October 1st, and then it closes on New Year's Day. So New Year's Eve at midnight. Check that out. Obviously, space is limited, and I highly recommend you do that. Such a great opportunity. Another thing, actually, the Matt Presti interview was really good because I really got down to a personal level, talked a lot about my past as a musician, the ups and downs, the dark days that were the catalyst to my journey of higher awareness, and that ultimately started with health. Of course, health from the mental realm, from psychology, is where it started. You have to recognize that there is a problem within your life, and then obviously having that information to navigate one's own psyche as well. And even then, that's still just one piece of the puzzle. Our physical vessel is absolutely important as well, because when the receiver, the body, the vessel starts to fail, then the signal that the mind is extrapolating gets staticky, gets muddied. We can't think straight. This is what brain fog is, etc. So it's very important to have mind-body connection, of course. Lately, I've been doing a lot of detoxing. I used to do parasite detoxes on a regular basis, and then I kind of slacked off. So I was really feeling sluggish, and all the signs were kind of pointing to, all right, we got to do a deep detox. So I did my parasite detox. I don't mess with anything fancy. It's just black walnut, wormwood, clove, pumpkin seed, and then I use some binders like activated charcoal, olive leaf, etc. Right? So that worked really good. And then I went a step further, and I kept seeing these ads on social media about nano scrub. This isn't like a sponsor. I don't get paid for this shit, but I'm just showing because this was fantastic. I said, all right, I did some research, educated myself on it. It's silver. And I went ahead and purchased it and did a cycle. And it's been, I think I've been doing it for about 4 weeks. So it's been about a month, solid month. And I noticed a huge change. The parasite cleanse helped tremendously. This took it to a way deeper level. So, of course, when you're going through a detox, you get flu-like symptoms. It can be brutal at times. And, of course, doing the hydrogen just made it a breeze, cleared that up nice and easy. So I'll talk some more about Ostara later on. I want to get into these topics. So the first one that we are going to do, hi Beagle Eye, good to see you, is transcendent function. Let me pull up my notes here. Let me know in the chat if anybody is familiar with this topic. So again, this is from Carl Jung. It's a central aspect of his psychological concepts. And yes, it can sound abstract at first, but we're going to try to break it down. We're going to simplify the profound. So here's a definition. The transcendent function is the inner psychological process by which the psyche reconciles opposing forces within itself, usually between the conscious, right, the ego, the rational thought, and the unconscious, which is the instincts, our emotions, archetypes that are buried within, that are heavily structured from our childhood, right? This is where the deep-seated habits, the habitual patterns come from, the unconscious. Now, Carl Jung called it transcendent because it goes beyond, right? Transcendent transcends, it goes beyond conflict, leading to a new, higher, and more balanced standpoint rather than staying stuck in either pole of the opposites. Okay, so think about what is going on in the world, right? We can use the Charlie Kirk event as a great example. I mean, as soon as an event pops off, immediately, whoop, the dialectic begins, and you have people jumping on the extreme poles of the events, right? Now, of course, for each person that is different, someone more rooted in their rational mind might look at all this analytical information and jump to conclusions from there. Another person could be more from his feelers, right? And his or hers emotions, and jump from just certain patterns. I'll give you a great example. Conspiracy theorists tend to do this quite often, where 100% everything is fake. And again, I'm not commenting on whether that event, the validity of that event. I'm using that as a example. We're focusing on the transcendent function, so we have a clear understanding of what that is, right? So we start to see in these events that these opposing extremes start to form. And that is because either an imbalance of the conscious ego, the rational mind, and then the unconscious aspects of psychology, right, within the individual. Now, the transcendent function is a third option that can only be accomplished when the conscious mind and the unconscious have reconciled. They've almost come to an agreement or a balance. In esoteric terms, this is also called the middle path, right? So this is the third option. There are some commonalities that are important on this process that takes place. Okay? So let's dive in to how it works. Let me give another example that I had that might make it a little bit easier. So the psyche often encounters tension of opposites. That word tension is a perfect word to describe what happens. You can still be aware of the unconscious or the conscious, but there is a refusal. There is tension there, right? But still, that choice or that imbalance tends to lead, whether you're going off of straight emotion or habits or patterns, or if you're just going with the numbers, right? The analytical, the rational mind. It has to be this way. So it's not to say that you don't acknowledge the conscious or the unconscious, the opposing side within oneself. It's stating that there is tension there. What you do with that tension and the process is important, because most people don't do anything with it. They double down, right? They stand on that hill and they die on that hill for that, so to say, right, with the metaphor. What's up, Chris? So, oops. My notepad. Come on. Okay. So another example, a person wants freedom, right, which is an unconscious desire, but also craves stability, which is a conscious need. Freedom, I'm using this as in freedom in their individual life, not collective human freedom. Yes, that's great. But of course, there's a conscious and unconscious aspect to freedom itself. You want freedom. You want ability to do whatever you like in a given day, right? But then the rational mind says, well, I need to do this, this, and that to stay on track, to finish my projects. I need to go to work, etc. Right? So instead of choosing one side or suppressing the other, the transcendent function allows both to speak. Right? This is done through a process called active imagination. You are letting the conscious mind speak on its reasons why you are. And this is why journaling is so important, because you could write these down, right? From the conscious mind itself, from the rational mind. And then also the unconscious, the why you want to do whatever you want today. Let's say it's Tuesday, it's a work day, you want to do whatever you want to go hiking or whatever. So you would write those reasons down. The key element is time itself. You can't make that decision right off the bat. You can't just write down some options, write down the opposing options, and then say, okay, the conscious, my ego has more on the list. I'm going to go with that. No, you need to sit with it. Time must be applied, and patience. Right? This is where the transcendent function will appear to you. There will be that third option when you have patience, when you've applied almost that meditative aspect to both sides that are speaking. Right? Anybody that has some really intense dreams, do you know what that is? If you're going through a phase where you're having a lot of vivid, intense dreams, that is your unconscious mind yelling at you, saying, hey, I have something to say here. Whether you can decode that message or not is another thing, right? But the unconscious, that's why dream work and Carl Jung, specifically focused a lot on dream work itself. Because that's where the unconscious mind, that's where it likes to communicate through. Images, feelings, patterns, symbols, right? So, having these two opposing sides, hearing them out in the event, the Charlie Kirk event, how it would look like with any event, even within your own personal life, you will not jump to conclusions. Jumping to conclusions, that phrase is immediately picking one of the extreme sides. Right? You need to chill the fuck out. Take some time, some patience, hear out both sides of the conscious and unconscious mind. The whys, the reasoning, the emotions that are encompassed in there. As someone that is into the unseen realm, what do we do in an event when there are events? We are absolutely looking for the synchronicities and the symbols. Why? Because that's the unconscious mind. That is the work of the unconscious. It's seeking symbols all over the place. It wants to see those synchronicities. It's using intuition to gauge the veracity of any type of event. But again, that's just one piece of the puzzle. right? You wouldn't fully rely on your intuition. Intuition is a tool itself. Relying on it 100%, you're absolutely choosing an opposing side. You are choosing one extreme. You wouldn't function in your normal everyday life purely on intuition. That wouldn't serve you well. Again, it is a powerful tool, and that can be developed and utilized. Again, it's the middle path. It's that third function of using the conscious and the unconscious mind. So, the transcendent function is the engine of individuation. The engine of individuation. That's something to chew on, right? So the process of becoming whole and integrated, wholeness, holistic, by engaging with it, with the transcendent function, a person develops a greater sense of self, harmony, and creativity. The engine of individuation. What was the format? The format was active imagination. And the pathway is time itself. Taking that patience, taking that time to unfold and activate that active imagination, right? Letting the conscious and the unconscious speak and analyzing that and sitting with that. And what does it mean, right? And even through all of that process, it's a very personal, individuated process, right? Even talking with other people about an event within your own life can fuck up that whole process. It's important, if you're going through something, you sit with yourself first and at least have that 0 point before you're asking, Joe, Schmo, Larry, Mary, what do you think I should do in my relationship? What do you think I should do in this and that, etc. This is why modern therapy fucks up a lot of people. They're not helping at all. But people have lost the skill sets and the tools to sit with themselves and turn on that engine of individuation, of the individual itself. That doesn't mean that you're going to have all the answers and you're going to figure it out. This is the 0 point. This is the starting point. This is for you to have clarity of where you are at, right? There are other processes after that, which we will explore. Okay, so imagine someone torn between career success, which is very ego-driven, right? And again, I'll preface this just in case there's, new listeners and stuff. That's great. The ego is not the bad guy. You are the ego. The ego is the self. It's the undisciplined, out of control ego that is the problem, right? And on the opposing extreme, where you get into, you see the ego as, the active masculine dynamic that we all have. And then, of course, the sacred feminine aspect, there's an imbalance there as well. Passivity. Not standing up for yourself. Yeah, it's okay. It's okay, sure, I'll go with it. People pleasing. That's the opposite extreme, right? Letting people walk all over you. Accepting all the time. Submission, right? So when I'm using that term ego, it's important to say I am not demonizing that word, right? We have to have the ego. If you are incarnated having this human experience, you have ego. There is no getting rid of it. You can leave it at the door when you transmigrate to the next life, right? But even then, there's an aspect of ego that goes with you. because it is part of that sense of self. So I just wanted to clear that up. So imagine someone torn between, remember this whole, how this can be utilized if an individual is feeling stuck in life. Doesn't matter what it is. You're feeling stuck. It could be career. It could be, I don't have purpose. I'm stuck in my relationship. How come I haven't started the one great work? How come I haven't activated to get on the battlefield of educating the public? I'm stuck. That stuck phase, right? So imagine someone torn between career success, which is ego-driven, and creative passion, which is soul-driven. If they ignore the passion, then they feel empty inside. If they abandon the career, then they will feel unstable. So by working with the transcendent function, they might find a new life path that blends both together, like starting a creative business or weaving art into their career. That's a really good example. The transcendent function is the middle path. The middle path. Right there. Right? So it is the third option that appears. It's a very spiritual process, right? Because it appears to you once you go through a very personal, human process and event. But that process and event makes us a better human, raises our consciousness, makes us more in tune and aligned with nature itself. Nature itself is operating on that level all the time. That level that we are trying to achieve, where the transcendent function appears out of the ethers to us. It just doesn't appear, right? We are channeling it in. We are tapping into that signal that is already there. That is nature. This is the beauty and curse of being human. We have the potentiality to go either way. That key factor is choice, y'all. We can choose. Choose either extreme or go through a process of self-discovery and find that other option. So, get back to my notes. Okay. So I hope this is given, sparking some telomeres. Hope you guys are getting some benefit from this. So that's that last example is really good on how the transcendent function appears in an individual's life, right? So the methods, again, we could dive into this, and then we're going to transfer this information into the crowd, society, the human condition, right? There's always those two at play, overarchings, right? The micro and then the macro, the individual and the collective. There's no getting around it. It always exists. There's always going to be a collective, right? That's different from collectivism, the religion of groupthink, the abdication of responsibility. But of course, we are on this planet having this experience with not just humans, our animal relatives, mineral, plants, the celestial bodies, the forces, like everything is based upon relationships in this experience. The individual aspect, that is that subjective aspect in the objective reality. Your relationship, your relationship to what? To anything, everything. Your family, principles, truth, freedom, what you do now, etc., right? That can be applied to anything. And it should. It really should. People should think about the quality of their relationships with all kinds of stuff, family, friends, etc. So some of the methods suggested by Carl Jung, right, is obviously active imagination, which is dialoguing with, it's utilizing that internal monologue, that internal dialogue. Something that I've done since I was a kid. I feel like I'm extremely comfortable in that aspect. In layman's terms, talking to yourself. Legitly. Having that conversation with yourself. Hey, whether that's out loud or inside yourself, that's on you. I do both. I definitely do both. When I'm by myself, I think I'm the funniest motherfucker ever. I mean, again, that's relative. But when I'm by myself, I have these conversations with myself. So that's what active imagination is. Another term, and again, parents with kids, these topics are good to explain to your children, especially in a society that is completely off its Richter, insane, and even aspects of what should actually be inherent to a human being, like active imagination, are seen to be weird and shunned. Like talking to yourself, having imaginary, kids call them friends, imaginative playtime. Sure, that's accepted with young kids, but then it's like, oh, you get to a certain age, you're 6 or 7 or 8. Oh, you're too old for that now. Stop doing that, right? So that's just the consensus religion of materialism that's leaking in and infecting our children as well. So that active imagination is playing out scenarios, wargaming, right? I mean, when I say wargaming, playing out the scenarios on all the potentialities of how it could go. If this, then that. Cause and effect. If I make this choice, then this might happen. If I make this choice, then that might happen. When I was young, I used to love choose your own adventure books. Those were so great, right? It's a very good metaphor of cause and effect. This is natural law, 100% cause and effect. So having that active imagination, daydreaming should be encouraged. Yeah, Chris, absolutely. Absolutely. That's all part of the active imagination, having that internal dialogue as well. Dream work, again, that's a great. Paying attention to your dreams. I mean, the unconscious, like I said earlier, when you're having these intense dreams, it could be even one night, right? But that is the unconscious screaming at you. There's a reason the dream is so vivid, and it's either reoccurring or there's strong overtones in certain archetypes or symbolism, right? So paying attention to that, even acknowledging that as well, is good for the unconscious mind. Simple as, wow, that dream was intense. Writing it down, at maybe using a dream journal, is really good. And actually your dreams can get a lot more clear, and you can retain the memory of them a lot better when you're using something like a dream journal. Why is that? Why does that happen? That's because you're interfacing with your unconscious. You're saying, hey, I hear you. Okay, let's work together. I'm going to write these down. Right? So, and then writing down in a dream journal, you are engaging into that relationship of the unconscious mind. And whenever you're in a relationship, there's always an effect of that. Right? Again, what's the quality of it? If you have you're in a romantic relationship and you're not engaging, what's the quality of that relationship going to be? Not good, right? So again, having that relationship with the unconscious and the unconscious is really important. Taking it to the transcendent function where you hear out your analytical, rational mind. Okay, I hear you out, but hold on a second. I'm just going to hold what you're screaming at me. I'm going to hold it as available information. Then I'm going to listen to the unconscious, my intuition, my emotions. I'm going to hear that out. Now you have two sides of the puzzle, and then bringing them together, that relationship is going to have an effect. And that's where that other option appears. So let me see. Let me check my other notes. Opposites can come together to a third option. Most people feel the pressure and the tension to pick a side immediately. Now, that's a good segue because this is done extremely well. All this information is occultism. All of this that I've talked about. This is at the heart of occultism on the individual, on psychology, because that's what occultism is. We're talking about hidden knowledge. Hidden knowledge of what? Of the human mind and of nature, the forces of nature, and the relationship between those two. That is the body of occultism, of hidden knowledge. The realm, the social engineers, and the parasite class absolutely do not want anyone to go down. And not just anyone, they just don't want numbers of people going down there. And again, just knowing isn't enough. Applying it. Right? Because here's the catch-22 about the transcendent function. You ready? Everything that I talked about, the transcendent function, you do it, you sit with the conscious, you sit with the unconscious, you give it time. That third option appears, the blending of the balancing of the opposites, the blending and the harmony of opposites. You still have to make a choice and act on that option. A lot of people are there as well. You could have that option. Let's go back to our example, right? The example of where did I have it? Oh, career success versus creative passion. The blending of those would be creating a creative business or weaving your creative expression or your art into your career, right? So there is a blending there. I'll give you an example. Well, that is the example, right? But again, you still have to act on that. So you get the aha moment like, ooh, that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to start this type of creative business so I can use my creative attributes that I love to do, and I'm going to turn that into a business. Let's say I like to design shirts. Yep, Outlander shirt right there, right? Relationship goals. I'm going to make t-shirts. I love making t-shirts. I'm going to turn this into a business. That's going to sustain my lifestyle. That's going to give me resources to do the one great work or to get a better house, get better food, etc. You still have to act on that, right? So that's important to understand. It doesn't manifest by magical means. The transcendent function is diving deep in that information of the psyche itself, of that hidden knowledge, that gnosis of the individual. That's why Carl Jung coined it, the engine of individuation. What is an engine? It's the heart, right? The heart, care. It's the engine. So that blending there of raw data, of logic, reason, and emotion, and care, and intuition, right? And then you act, also known as unity consciousness, thoughts, emotions, and actions. So you can have all of the dope-ass, life-transforming occult knowledge. If it's not applicable in your life, it means shit. It means nothing. Not that the information is shit. It just means you, if you're not utilizing that information, it has no value to you. That can be any types of information, right? Knowledge is not power. It's the potentiality of power. It all depends on what you do with that information, with that knowledge. Because again, in this manifested reality, action is what manifests. Of course, the process before that, there is that process that you must go through, thoughts, emotions, and actions. But what are actions? Act, ion, break the word up. Act, to perform. Ion, energy. So you are performing the energy. So yeah, you can have a creative business. Great idea. The blending of the two. If you don't act, you're really doing yourself a disservice on that. And sure, we can have ideas that, we kind of marinate on for a while, then we say, nah, we're going to go a different route. That still would be the transcendent function. If you're going through that process to have another better option, 100%. My hydrogen therapy business. This is a product of transcendent function. I've been into molecular hydrogen therapy for over 13 years. Right? Some people are like, oh, you're into this new thing. Nick, no, I've been in this for so long. I've been taking hydrogen water, been drinking it for 13 years. It was part of my big health journey. It helped me heal autoimmune disorder, etc. Right? But so I was still using it and practicing it. It wasn't until I was sitting myself down like, fuck, man, I don't want to do physical construction for the rest of my life. It's wearing my body down. I need a ethical, moral mode to generate resources so I can do the one great work. I can enhance my studio. I can amplify my message. I can have greater reach. I can travel, do public speaking engagements. All of that takes energy. So you need currency for that. What am I going to do? Like I want to do something that I can contribute. I can help humanity. It blends into what I already am doing, right? And of course, healing goes hand in hand with freeing individuals' minds or giving them knowledge to free their minds. It was the perfect blend. So of course, speaking with one of my dear friends, Logan, he also was into hydrogen therapy, and we're like, dude, there it is. Let's come together and let's build this. That was a product of transcendent function. He went through that process. I went through that process. It made sense, and we came together. So that's a personal life example of how that works and how that can work in events as well. The Charlie Kirk that I referenced earlier. I started this live show saying that when events pop off, I go quiet. That's because I observe. And plus, any type of event, it already happened. It manifested. There's no changing it from there, right? You have a lot to gain to gather your information. Take that time, have that patience, go through the rational and the intuitive process, right? The active imagination to try to make sense of an event, right? As another example. And again, this is primarily effective within an individual's life. I mean, it is only effective in an individual's life, right? The collective isn't a thing, it's just comprised of individuals. So when we see so many people jump on those opposing sides with these events, it's very disheartening. It is a clear sign that the social engineers are doing what they are very good at, and that's fucking with people's minds. Playing the strings, and people are just biting it because they have no mental discipline. That is why they don't understand the aspects of psychology to at least take a fucking step back. Like, just don't even open your mouth for at least a little bit of time before you say anything. So, and I am talking about, mainly like the truther community and all of these sides, the statists, etc. Their people are just so reactive to choose a side, right? And that's what I mean. That tension, that pressure to choose is the black magic. That little space is exactly what the social engineers, the dark sorcery, they know that's where they can get people. On that tension. And that's done through many ways, especially now in this modern age with tech, where you can have, AI and just social media and all this kind of stuff. These are all tools to implement magic. Because this might sound woo for a lot of people, but I'll break it down scientifically. Let me take a sip of my molecular hydrogen water real quick. Everything in this reality, everything, blanket statement, everything that you do on a day-to-day basis, day and night, everything that is done in the world is all a function of magic itself. Magic, in the way that I'm using it, is the influence to create, or the art and science to influence others. And that others isn't strictly humans. It can be animals, plants, the forces of nature, etc. It is using your energy to create influence. Okay? Now, just take away me levitating my fucking coffee cup across the room. Take that out of your mind. I mean, meaning that I can use the knowledge of transcendent function. I could use psychology in branding a product, in suggesting certain type of information to influence your psychology, your mind, to make a choice. That is exactly what magic is, and we all do it. We all do it. We all influence our own local environment. We all influence the larger surrounding environment. We influence our family, our friends, our neighbors, our pets, the plants, etc. Because we are energetic beings, and we influence that, right? I influence my garden every time I'm out there. What I did last week in my garden influences what's going to happen a month from now, because I planted some seeds. So I'm using this as examples. This is why the knowledge of the occult, the hidden knowledge of the psyche, is extremely empowering and powerful itself. And this is what the social engineers utilize. They don't need themselves to take direct action. They understand human psychology and nature so well that they can do certain things or get someone to do certain events or take certain actions or suggest a certain type of information to the populace, and then that will influence a desired outcome. Magic. So again, magic itself, the art and science of influence. Okay? And again, like I said about relationships, what's the condition of your relationship? So when we're talking about magic, what is the condition? That's how we can delineate from whether it's white or black magic. Meaning, when we're using those terms, right, it's just, are you using your energy and your influence to inflict harm, or you're using it ethically, right, to collaborate, non-harmful. So again, we're all influencing each other. So and that goes straight into the crowd itself. Now, what is a crowd? Well, it's, we've seen this all throughout history. I mean, people get together, they form crowds, they do protests, they do crazy shit. But why? Why do that? Why form crowds? What's the benefit for an individual? Why do the social engineers want crowds? Why do they want individuals to feel boldened, empowered within a crowd? These are good fucking questions. Okay? And we're going to talk about this. So a crowd, obviously, on its crude surface, is a compiling of individuals, right? Compiling of individuals coming together under a certain ideology, a certain cause, a unifying purpose, some form or fashion, whatever that is, right? That can be philosophical, it can be moral itself, it can be a product, it can be whatever. When we look at the world today, most people, when they crowd up, it's in the guise of freedom or liberty or give me justice, or it's an injustice, right? There's a reason why the topic of freedom is used often within these large crowds. Well, number one, freedom itself, the idea of freedom, the concept of freedom is ingrained within nature itself and within our very being, right? All life strives for freedom. We can see this on the molecular level, on amoebas, bacteria, plants, animals, humans. When you try to confine something, a living thing, and it wants to escape, and you're hindering that, it will fight to be free. A plant will overgrow a garden if you don't tend to it. You can cage an animal, and the animal can get aggressive. Of course, there are limits to that, of breaking an animal, of breaking a human being, right? Tending the garden so it doesn't grow over. So this is a fact. So freedom itself is an inherent state of being that we all strive for. The social engineers know this. When there is a quote unquote injustice in the world and people get together and they protest. First of all, we need to understand the what happens to an individual in the group dynamic. This is very important. And we'll talk about some segments from this, but you should read this book. You buy it wherever and read it. It's really good. The kind of the principles on there are fantastic to go through. But this isn't going to be a dissertation of this book. I've read that a long time ago. It's really good to read now to understand the dark magic that is being performed over the masses with all of these events. And I'm going to conclude this live show talking about where our true spiritual currency, where our attention and focus, where it is best directed for maximum outcome, for real change, essentially. Let me check in with the chat real quick. Sorry, I've been neglecting y'all. Let's see what we got. Show comments on stage, beta. That's what's up. Let's check this out. Oh, what'd I do? Okay. I don't know why it's not showing up. Anyways, let's see what we got. What's up, brother Fred? Freedom is still an ideological stance on existence. We never really achieved it. That, yes, absolutely, we never have achieved it. Well, I wouldn't say never. Again, at least in our known history, for sure. Could there have been a time? Yeah, maybe. But I don't focus on those what ifs. They have no relevancy to where we're at now. History has been fucked with and revised. So, but yes, now, in the here and now, absolutely, we do not have true freedom, what that is. And a good sign of that is to see if you have a tyrannical government, if you have government itself. You can easily gauge the state of the world by understanding individuals and what they believe. And when you have a populace that does not believe objective truth exists, you are going to be enslaved. If you have a populace that enshrines moral relativism, you're going to have a population enslaved, right? So there are these key markers where, I mean, it's very obvious now. But yes, again, even the concept of freedom is unknown to us, to what that would look like. But I'll tell you this, it's a whole lot better than fucking duress, coercion, genocide, rape, pillage, murder, theft, right? So this is what's funny when you kind of engage in these conversations with people and they go, oh, you're an anarchist, right? So no masters, no slaves. Well, what would society look like without external government? They always want to know the ins and outs of how society will work. Sure, it's a great topic, open for discussion, but they're giving you an ultimatum. They're like, well, you know, I'm not going to subscribe into that until I know you have a solid plan for society. That's the relativism coming out of them. It's like, look, I don't have all the answers on how society will work. I have some good ideas. Absolutely. But I know one thing. I know the difference between right and wrong, and the way that society is functioning on the planet is wrong 100%. So when people don't know the objective difference between right and wrong, then they get into those kind of those positions of, you know, well, a little bit of slavery is still better than unknown freedom. So, but yeah. Freedom isn't free. Thank you for your work, Will. Thank you for your work, Fred. I appreciate you. That's right. The upkeep of freedom. It's like, I mean, Freedom itself, to sum it up, is radical responsibility. And motherfuckers are scared of that. They are scared of that. 100%. Hi, Michelle, if you're still watching. Thanks for joining. Fred said earlier, not acting is an action. Yep, that's right. That is a choice, 100%. All right. Okay, so the crowd. So what happens with individuals when they get into a crowd? And now, look, I've been to a few protests in my early days, right? I haven't been to many. Even as I was young, like the thought of protesting seemed silly to me. But I have been to a couple protests, and my friend John and I, when we started our video podcast, Natural Freedom League, we were going to protests, not to participate in the protest, to stand on the side, and we were educating people on natural law. So we were trying to reach these protesters and, affect change that way. But if you've been to a protest, most people don't have, once you get into that energetic field, it's very consuming. What is happening, it's ultimately creating an egregore. An egregore itself, let me pull up my definition. Hold on one second. Anybody wants to look into egregores, Mark Stavish, his work is really good. An egregore it is a collective thought form or psychic entity that emerges from shared beliefs, emotions, intentions of a group of people. Right? So this is what happens. Now, first of all, an egregore can be good or bad, right? It's the context of what type of energy is being emitted. But when a group of people get together under a banner of a shared belief or purpose, that creates an egregore, a collective psychic entity. Right? This psychic entity really does have its own will to itself. Right? That might seem hard to believe, but it can have its own will. And I'll save that for another show or another presentation. So collective thought form is what happens when someone gets into a group dynamic. Now, on the individual level, since we are all connected, right? And when you get a group together, you are reverberating against each other. So strength in numbers, that phrase, that has meaning to an egregore, the power of an egregore. Because when you enter into a large group, you can feel the energy of 1,000 people, 100,000 people, right? So one thing that happens with the individual is their courage goes up. It's actually false courage. They get more emboldened. They also get their individuation and their logic and reason starts to get hazy and fades away because they are now into this group, connected on the psychic level and the energetic level, and it's very easy to go with the flow, right? Now, what Gustave Le Bon, what he talks about is that initiation of creating a crowd, typically stems from a philosophical or a moral aspect, something that is very deep in its nature, but has been taken by someone and then diluted. So it is super simple and crude. And then that is used to instigate or to create, influence, inspire a crowd to generate around that oversimplification of an idea, right? Now, in history, who did that very well, right? Hitler, Stalin, Mao. Guess who was their not direct teacher, who they studied heavily? Gustave Le Bon, right there. So you can simplify, you can take a concept and extrapolate a little piece from that, promote that little piece to initiate groupthink around it. I'll give you an example. Black Lives Matter. That's a good one right there. It's a simplified excerpt of a deeper or a bigger topic. It's a crude example, and it immediately creates a dialectic, right? Because what popped up right after Black Lives Matter? All lives matter. Black lives matter. All lives matter. Okay, now what you have done is you've planted the seed for that crowd mentality. And all you have to do, you planted the seed not only to create a groupthink crowd mentality, you've sown the seeds of the Hegelian dialectic. Because all you got to do is just piss off one side, right? Piss off Black Lives Matter or piss off All Lives Matter, and they're gonna protest, and there's gonna be the counter protest, etc., etc. So, and that's just an example. Another crude snippet would be justice for all. It's a grossly oversimplified. And here's a fantastic way to see the state of mind of individuals at a protest or in a crowd like that. Go watch some videos where people go around at a protest and they interview people. Hey, excuse me, what are you here for? And watch how many people have no fucking clue why they are there. Oh, well, can't you read my sign? Oh, we're here for justice. Or they just parrot the oversimplified excerpt, the seed, right? No one can really stand in their individual creative logic and reason and explain and articulate something. They all have the same type of rhetoric. It's oversimplified. It's almost as if the frontal lobe is going completely fucking deafened, right? It's mind-blowing. You could do some research on that. So those are some of the aspects. So the individual gets emboldened because of the energetic components that they have now compiled together, right? Strengths and numbers. The element of accountability is lessened or completely removed, meaning they are responsible for themselves when they're in a huge crowd like that. It's very easy to just fucking throw a brick through a window, to jump on a car, to hurt someone, to do whatever and have no repercussions because there's hundreds or thousands of people. So again, and these are all just attributes that are stemmed from the lack of logic and reason as well, right? Critical thinking. So those are the main aspects of what happens to an individual when they get into a crowd itself, right? And of course, why people join a crowd, a protest, is obviously it stems from connection. They are lacking the fundamental attributes. Really, I would take it as far as the majority of people do not understand what it means to be human. Now, once you remove that and someone is ignorant of what it means to be human at the fundamental level, that we do seek connection and we do seek that communion with humans and obviously other beings as well, right? That involvement. When someone is unaware of those attributes and they unconsciously seek that out, now they are suggestible. And that is very easy to obviously fill them up with a whole bunch of other propaganda or crap and see what bites, right? Depending on the type of imbalances that they have with inside them, whether you lean to the left, you lean to the right, or whatever it may be, religionist, materialist. And of course, in this day and age, there's so many hooks out there. There's so much bait for people to grab onto, and that ultimately reels them into an egregore, into a group psyche, thought form, right? So, and I mean, so what's the remedy to that, right? It's ultimately, if I can just be a reductionist here for a minute, let's break that down. Let's go down to the causal factors of why people engage or look into or support and condone propaganda or false information, and they get involved into erroneous groupthings. Well, it's ignorance. It's what I was saying about ignorant of being human itself, right? This is why the message of objective morality is so important. And even that, what I just said, it's so hard for people, not everyone, a lot of people, to see where that fits into the puzzle. Okay? I said that people do not understand, the majority of people do not understand what it means to be human. So I'm implying that there is ignorance there, lack of knowledge, right? What is that missing component? That missing component is objective morality. What is morality? Morality is the definitive difference between right and wrong. Right actions and wrong actions. What happens when you have that knowledge of objective right and wrong? Meaning you understand that there is a standard within behavior and actions. There is a standard within the condition of the relationships that we have. When you understand that, right? Obviously, the causal factor is the initiation of harm. So when you understand right and wrong, it is a lot more, you are more proficient to see the bullshit that's out there, right? That's ultimately going to lead you to the belief in human authority that government itself is illegitimate and invalid. So when you hack at the roots of evil, ignorance, moral relativism, you're taking down the whole fucking tree with it, right? Because everything, government, religion, materialism, scientism, collectivism in that aspect, Marxism, socialism, all that fucking bullshit, it's all stacked upon, and it's all fruit of the branches, the trunk, the roots of moral relativism, of that ignorance of right and wrong, of not understanding that truth that lies there. The truth that what it means to be human is that we are going to interact with others And what's the condition of those interactions? Are we supporting and condoning or initiating harm? Or is it voluntary interaction, contribution, symbiosis? Right? So that's getting down to the causal level, which is ultimately the whole focus of my content right there. Right? That's what I focus on. Same with Mark and many other natural law teachers. When you get down to that causal level, like I said, everything is stacked upon that. The condition of everything in society is based upon how many people understand that category. If the collective is comprised of individuals, and the majority of individuals do not understand the difference between right or wrong, therefore they cannot defend right and resist wrong, right? What is the condition? What will you get? What will be the effect of that cause? And 100% the condition will be slavery, tyranny, death. Because the people that are planting those seeds, that are sowing those seeds of those immoral egregores, right, for people to unite with and to converge into those crowds and those groups, it's all being orchestrated by the social engineers because they know what I just said. They know that information. And they are able to use the knowledge of psychology and the knowledge of natural law, which is the objective, immutable, binding laws of nature, of reality, the governing dynamics of how reality operates, that are non-man-made. Humans didn't create that shit, right? By creation itself. They use that to play human beings like a fiddle. And of course, whoever takes the actions creates the manifestation. So who are the enforcers of those dictates, of those orders? The police, the military, the doctors, the university teachers, the average Joe Schmo supporting government, supporting the slave system, etc. All those people that are actual gears running the system of slavery. So when I see, that's why these events, like, I really I don't put a lot of attention into them, to be honest. There's always going to be current events. Once you get down to that causal level and you understand, you have a correct and accurate diagnosis of the problem, then you can understand what the correct solution is. But once you get down to that causal level, you know where our attention and action needs to be. And focusing and spending our time and attention on the manifested events, on the sideshows. Remember, this is all for people's fucking attention. They want to keep the millions, the hundreds of thousands, and the millions of people participating within the crowd. Because when you're in the crowd, you're not thinking, you're suggestible, you're controllable, you're a fucking slave to the 10th power. That's where they want people. So that's where they want people's energy to be within these events. That doesn't mean I don't look into them. from time to time. The Charlie Kirk event is very interesting. It's very fascinating. I've watched a lot of Candace Owens as well. She does something I think that is very authentic. She's an authentic journalist in many degrees. Doesn't matter what you think about Candace. I don't subscribe to her. She's a fucking, well, kind of a statist, but she's opposition because of what she does not talk about. If you're talking about changing the system within the system, you are part of the problem. You are called controlled opposition. That doesn't mean that you have to be an agent of the state. It means that you don't have the correct answer. You don't have the correct information of the causal factors to create change. So the Joe Rogans, Alex Jones, all of those people that are talking about all we have to do is create change within the system, right? Those are all distractions, because it doesn't matter who you put in office, the white hats, that's all bullshit. There's no change there. The real change is philosophical, it's metaphysical, it's moral, which is all spiritual, and it's all about what you are going to do. Now, how does this tie in to with everything that we've talked about? Right? Now I'm getting down to actually taking action in the world. And I just said it's on the individual itself. Right? Now, let's think about transcendent function. Transcendent function itself is a huge part of shadow work itself, right? Shadow work, it's like we use these terms. Some of these terms are like so played out. And here's something that I'm actually going to talk about in an upcoming presentation. Words themselves mean a lot and also don't mean shit. What do I mean by that? The voice is one of the greatest tools for the human being, right? Words carry vibration. They are actually the greatest magical tools that a human being can use, right? I can use a word like freedom. Now, 1 million people might have their own mentally perceived definition of freedom, right? So what does that tell us? That tells us that the word itself is like just a little piece of the puzzle. It's the meaning and the comprehension that is where the empowerment is. So that's why in a lot of my presentations, I define a lot of words and I simplify the profound, because I want the viewer to, when I'm done giving a speech, a presentation, my whole goal is to convey information to them that they can use. But if they do not have an accurate perception of the topics that I talked about, then I have failed as a communicator. So, yes, communication is extremely important, but comprehension is fucking key right there. My ability to explain something and also your ability to listen, take it in, don't subscribe right away, hold it, think about it, use it as available information, right? And make your own decision. So, comprehension is extremely important. And we need to get back to, even just in general society, when our relationships with people, we need to get back to having clear meaning. If you're in an intense philosophical, heated, or even just, talking to a significant other about your relationship, make sure there's clarity there, because a lot of motherfuckers can think deep, A lot of people. Oh, I can go super deep. I can go down any rabbit hole you give me. Depth doesn't get you much. But depth and clarity lets you see very well. And that's what we need. We need clarity. Too many people, especially in, let's apply this to the events. There are too many people that are diving deep, right? Oh, this event is fake. Replacement theory, simulation theory. There's hundreds and hundreds of theories. People get really deep. And hey, I appreciate that. I'll get deep with you. But there's a lack of clarity there. And that clarity only comes from understanding, meaning and understanding, primarily of principles, right? And those principles can be the principles of grammar. They could be the principles of fallacies. They can be the principles of logic, of morality, etc. All of those are principles, depending on the category that you are trying to convey or express. Principles themselves mean first things first, right? So when I'm, as an example, if I'm going to talk about, how to stream on StreamYard, I would stick to certain principles that you would always do first, right? Well, first things first. Do you have a computer? Okay, you're good. Do you have the internet? Okay, good. You have a keyboard? Good. Mouse? Good. Webcam? Good. Now we're clarifying the ground by which now we can lay, okay, what type of stream do you want to do? Blah, blah, blah. Right? I'm using that as a crude example. So, clarity is extremely important. Meaning is extremely important, and defining our words and our terms is important, which definition itself means clarity of meaning. So to tie that back in, let me take a look at the chat. Getting winded. I'm gonna drink some coffee and some hydrogen water. Let's see what we got in here. Crip Rick, what's up, brother? Appreciate you. I forgot I got Instagram on there. How's everyone doing? You guys throw any comments out there if you want, any questions on what we've talked about so far. Transcendent function, crowd psychology, how that's being used to manipulate more of the populace, right? It's all about atomizing people when it comes to the crowd psychology. It's all about numbers. It's pulling people in, right? Because like I said earlier, this is a quantifiable and it's qualitative. Numbers matter and the quality of those individuals. So they obviously, the quality is they don't want people understanding objective morality and how the governing dynamics to create change in the world, i.e. natural law. They don't want to understand that. They want people at a low level of awareness. That's the qualitative, and they want a whole bunch of them because strength in numbers, the more people believe in that shit, it is going to affect the biosphere on an energetic level. It's going to generate the condition of the collective, of the planet, of an area, of a society, of a community, etc. Cool, still live on Instagram. I thought they had a time limit, but let's rock it. Let's do it. Oops. Give me 1 second, guys. Yeah, any questions, put them in the chat. Why is there... Oh, am I not live on... Oh my gosh. Anyways, sorry guys. Let's see here. So we got St. John. What's up, brother? Watching me over Facebook. That's what's up. Appreciate you. You are live on Facebook too? Yep. I'm live on Facebook. On a few pages on Facebook. Also the Funnel YouTube channel and Facebook. my YouTube channel, X, my website, willkeller.com as well. Chris Callahan, what's up, brother? Crip Rick, Will, if truly interested and disturbing how someone can get sucked into group without really knowing anything about it. Well, yeah, that's going back to what I was saying just about ignorance, right? And that ignorance of not understanding what it means to be human. Again, we seek connection with other human beings and other life as well. That is inherent. We are part of a family in this whole biosphere. So we seek that. And if you do not understand that, and you do not understand those attributes or those characteristics, then your level of awareness, you're going to seek certain type of information. Now, again, largely, that foundation is created in the formative years, right? This is why I talk about the family dynamic being so important. If it's based upon ignorance for individuals, then the relationship that an individual had with their family unit in those formative years, the formatting, laying down the foundational operating system of an individual, that really sways and directs the pathway. Again, it's not definitive, but this is why conscious parenting is really important. Parents understanding objective morality and natural law, incorporating that into the family unit itself, right? That gives individuals I say a head start, but it's a head start in this day and age, but really that information is the most fundamental and basic information for human beings to know. It's also the rarest, the most occulted, hidden, and ignored information in this day and age. Does that group energy at a protest affect weak minds and individuals? Absolutely it does. For sure, it can. It definitely can. Think about when you're in that group state. Again, it depends what the energy is, right? You could do a music festival. Think about the energy of the music festival, the egregore that is being created from the collective thought form of all of those individuals. Actually, here's a better example. Burning Man. If you think about Burning Man of the event, it is its own egregore itself. It's its own entity of psychic thought form, right? From all those individuals. And people are affected by that, right? The burn, or there's a certain type of attribute or characteristics that people show when they're subscribed to that type of group, right? So again, context matters. But of course, in these protests, when you look at the context of what they're doing, they're protesting. They're obviously, that is, you're begging your masters. The question is, why are you protesting? That's why I thought it's so funny, these people walking around and asking individuals, why are you here today? And a lot of people don't know, or they cannot articulate it correctly. So that's because they are under a spell of the crowd effect when they're in there. And that real shadow work needs to come when they need to ask themselves, why the fuck are they in that state of mind, right? Reverse engineer that. Oops. Matt Shrek, what's up, brother? Appreciate you. Slap ass creations. Go check out my brother at Slap Ass Creations. Makes natural law art as well, and a whole bunch of fantastic artwork. He gifted me a bunch of t-shirts that I love. They're so dope. So Matt, brilliant artist. He didn't make this t-shirt. This is my Outlander t-shirt. I don't give a fuck what anybody says. Yes, it's an Outlander t-shirt. Fantastic, fantastic series. Okay. Let me see what is next on. So this transcendent function is that which breaks the impasse. That was my short definition that I forgot to say earlier, which is really, really important. So, okay, that's where I wanted to go to kind of wrap this up, because I've been going for a little bit of time, and I'm trying not to incorporate kind of my presentation that I have up that I'm going to do publicly, do it live, but I'm going to be touching on these topics and expanding on them. They're just pieces of a larger puzzle, so I'm trying to save some of it. So the transcendent function, understanding that as the engine of individuation, a process of understanding the self, harmonizing with the self, with nature, and like I have said many times, awareness reveals choice. Which, that quote, that is exactly what the transcendent function is. When you expand your aperture, right, your perception, your awareness, your field of view, then more choices reveal themselves to you. So, doing the transcendent function gives you a deeper awareness of self with the conscious and the unconscious. And then, of course, what arises is that third function itself. So when we see these events, understand that the transcendent function can also be applied on events themselves, right? It's like you see there's the mainstream explanation of an event. Then the conspiracy theorists have their explanation, or many, right? It's typically overarching. It's real, exactly how, the feds or the mainstream portrayed it, or it's completely fake, right? But these events, of course, the transcendent function can be applied to all events in your life and events in the world themselves. Gathering that information, applying that introspection, and letting options potentially show themselves. Oops. That's all of my notes right there. Does anybody have any questions? There was something else I was going to go into, but I'm sorry I kind of lost track. Yeah, what up, Chris? Kathleen, True Love, Presser, hello. Thank you for joining. People's emotions and belief systems are used to control and enslave them without them being aware of such. Absolutely. Yes, they are. What are emotions? Emotions is energy in motion, right? So that has a frequency. And this is heavily influenced by the unconscious. And the unconscious they're married hand in hand, really. Symbols. That's why we see these symbols in these events, right? We see a lot of synchronicities and symbols in product placement, etc. Propaganda. All of that speaks to the unconscious mind to initiate and to spark a certain type of emotion, right? Really anything, colors, certain t-shirts, art, etc. All of that can have an influence on someone's psyche, especially their emotional stability. So people being rooted in that the R complex of the brain, the reptilian, that fight or flight, which can be how that is relevant, is how I was talking about the transcendent function, and that people, they have a pressure to choose, the pressure from the tension of the opposites, the opposing sides, feeling that pressure that they have to choose. That very much is tied into with the emotional heart mind control that the social engineers are putting out there. So yeah, well said. Huh, it's okay, Rick. All good, brother. All right. Let me go back. Yep. I'm probably gonna wrap it up there. I hope you guys have found value. I'll put my notes in the description. And I hope you found some value on the transcendent function. It's a good lead for people to check out, and also the pathways to utilize that as well. Check out the crowd. Good psychology. The study of the popular mind and mass formation. That's where I forget what that guy, mass formation psychosis. That's where he got that term from. Gustave Le Bon. And yeah, so this has been a great episode. I appreciate everyone for tuning in. I think we covered a lot of ground. I am happy to make that announcement. So now I'm going to send out my newsletter, my emails, do my posts. Again, for people that tuned in later, I really wanted to make the first time public announcement that I will be a speaker at the People's Reset in Mexico. So Central Mexico, Morelia, and I'm going to be talking about the overarching topic is natural law for sure. So fantastic event. I would love to see some faces there. So anybody's interested in going, again, you can go to the website, thegreaterreset.org, and right on there they have plan your trip. And Derek and Miriam made it real easy for people to join the activation, plan your trip. There's hotels where you can stay. What a beautiful city. I'm really excited to kind of see some of the historical culture and architect in that city. What you can expect, again, this is a week-long event. Liberate your mind, body, and soul, permaculture and food independence, agorism and parallel networks, empowering technology, building free and conscious communities. And of course, I'm going to be adding that vital, crucial component of natural law. Because again, like I talked about in this episode, you can have all of these things building a free and conscious community. And if you don't have that knowledge of natural law as the foundation, That's what natural law is, the knowledge of objective morality and the governing dynamics of nature. If you don't have that as your foundation, then the whole structure is gonna fall apart. So, I'm excited to present and to experience, and I hope to see you guys there. And Funnel 5 coming out again. Check that out, freedomundernaturallaw.com. Chris Jansen's new book that I wrote the foreword to, the book that changed my life. Check that out, endevil.com. And again, anybody's interested in my work, if you're new to my work, go to willkeller.com. That's my hub for all my information. You can highly recommend checking out my presentations. And there's some interview series on there that are really good. And you can get to the Funnel Conference, Freedom Under Natural Law, the One Great Work Network. Let's show that because Mark recently added some new members. There's going to be quite a bit of new members coming in from that, which is going to be great. And you can get to my One Great Work Network profile page on there, and also Ostara Hydrogen as well, which I highly recommend people look into. You know, in this battle, health is incredible. Understanding what molecular hydrogen can do, it being the all-around ultimate assistant for your body. Not only does it neutralize the most harmful free radicals in the body, it can enhance other therapies and treatments that you're doing, right? Like I take fantastic fulvic and humic minerals, and drinking hydrogen water with that, the hydrogen absolutely amplifies the bioavailability and the detoxification process for those supplements. And so go to get the Hydrogen Essentials Kit and get educated on what H2 can do for you. And I also have a code on there, Will10, to get 10% off if anybody is interested. And sure, we have an entry-level unit, right? This is one of the water bottles that many people have seen. We spent a good amount of time finding the best manufacturing. Integrity is at the highest level for Ostara. We want something that's safe and super effective, but also affordable, right? These things can get expensive, and there's a lot of people that are misleading and that are spreading inaccurate information on there, and they're doing it for a quick buck, and we genuinely want to educate people on this powerful modality that, EMF poisoning, this is anti-radiation, anti-cancer, all this kind of stuff. But you need to understand what it does, what it is. Once you understand the nature of hydrogen gas, molecular hydrogen, then there's nothing that it cannot benefit to. So, and then, of course, for more advanced therapies, the two machines in the back for inhalation and water generation. So yeah, One Great Work Network. My profile is on there. Over 75 content creators talking about natural law, objective morality, in their own creative way. There's musicians, there's dancers on here, presenters, authors, writers. It's a fantastic hub for people to go and find multiple flavors of people. So go check that out. And of course, my profile is on there as well. So don't be shy to donate to any of these content creators. I mean, we need resources, and it's extremely important. The financial aspect, the resources of it, it's an amplifier. It's an amplification for whatever you're doing, right? You want to have a better, you want to eat more nutritious. Do you need a better living arrangement? Then you need resources for that. It's an amplifier for what you are doing, right? So people can go. So I highly recommend people support whatever means they can to their any of the content creators. And I appreciate all the donations that come in on my side. So willkeller.com. Check out my website, all my categories, all my news sections, presentations, and of course, my donate section, which I'm getting close to getting the limit on what I need to upgrade my tech. So that's going to be dope, and hopefully just in time for a new laptop for when I go to Mexico to do a presentation. So thank you to everyone that has donated thus far. A special thank you to Jamie or James. He just donated recently, so I appreciate you, brother. And yeah, let me pull this out. Let me check the chat one more time. Cheyenne, I missed it. It was... Oh, no worries. Go check the replay. We got into some spicy topics, and appreciate you showing up. But yeah, go check out the replay. All my replays will be available on any of my platforms, and you can get there on my website, willkeller.com. And let me know what you thought. What's up, Chris? Appreciate you and all the work that you do. Jerry, good seeing you. Brother boy, appreciate you, man. Thank you guys for all your support. Thanks for tuning in. I'm going to do more live shows, so I hope you like this style. I have some guests that I want to bring on, and I always enjoy bouncing, just having a good dialogue. And stay tuned. I have two full-length presentations that I'm going to set dates on. I have Symbiosis, which I gave the short form at Funnel, the extended, which is a fucking massive presentation, and I'm so excited for it. And yes, I rescheduled it one time just from an emergency, and I never scheduled it, but I'm ready. I'm ready to do that one. So I'm thinking I'm going to do Symbiosis first, and then I'm going to do Source Code, which is going to be fantastic. I think both of those, I'm probably going to do them pretty close together within a week of them, and because they jive very well. So still playing with the combination. If it's going to be Source Code first, then Symbiosis, we shall see. But you guys, until then, appreciate you. Stay blessed and take it easy. All right? Have a good one.